Welcome back, and thank you so much for your time. Let me make another appeal to our audience, the studio audience here. Please do not cheer and do not jeer at anyone. In fact, if you do, I will have no choice but to stop the candidate who is speaking and allow you to continue the cheering or jeering, and then after that, he or she will continue, because you eat into their time when you do that. Thank you very much for respecting the rules and the guidelines of this debate. Thank you. Time now to turn to the candidate of the All Progressives Congress. And with a real GDP growth rate of 1.8% and a population growth rate of 3%, there is an indication that the poverty condition in the country may further deteriorate. What needs to be done? What should be the response?
First, let me say that GDP has grown consistently in the past 6 quarters. It's continued to grow, and it will continue to grow. The trajectory is upwards, clearly. The second thing to note is that we are lending, and because MSMEs are extremely important, small business is extremely important, including petty trading. We are lending the highest ever to small business in Nigeria, beginning with the government enterprises and promotions, and government enterprises and empowerment scheme, where we're doing about 35 billion in the cycle. BOI is doing about another 20 billion. Aside from that, we're obtaining from the AFDB $500 million for entrepreneurship, just entrepreneurship. This is the highest lending ever to the MSME sector. I've been to 20 different states in Nigeria on what we call the MSME clinics. And in every one of those states, what we've done is that we've taken the regulatory agencies to the MSMEs. And we've set up in many of the states, a one-stop shop where the regulatory authorities function. Because one of the chief problems that MSMEs have is access to the regulatory authorities and answers to their various questions. Now that is being done. In addition to that, we've set up shared facilities in several different states. A shared facility is a place where you provide equipment, where you provide machinery that the small business cannot afford. And then the small businesses come and use it and share it. We've also put power. Infrastructure, as I said, is critical. We put power in markets just so as to be able to encourage small business. In our area market, for example, in Abia State, we now have there a 2 megawatt power plant which just supplies the market aside from solar facilities there. And that's what we've done also in Sabongari Market in Kano and several other places where we put infrastructure. Infrastructure is key to all of these things.
Thank you. Candidate of the ANN. Now, if you are elected as the Vice President of Nigeria, you will be the Chairman of the National Economic Council. What kind of policy collaboration will you pursue with state governments to ensure the progress of the Nigerian economy?
So we have 4 cardinal R's in Alliance for New Nigeria, which is to reduce the cost of governance, to restructure every economic leeway, which includes the SMEs. Right now, the President, Vice President talked about how we have the SME clinics. Most Nigerians have not felt the impact of these policies. What we are going to do in Alliance for New Nigeria is to ensure that every SME, the biggest problem of an SME is tax. To get a free tax cut for at least 3 years, and also to ensure that to at least ensure that all the SMEs have some, depending on the kind of business that you're doing, you have some, all the regulatory issues, all the bureaucracy that to operate in Nigeria as an SME will be curtailed. We also have the issue, the second R is the restructuring. Okay, the third R is the reforming of all ambits of economic policies that drives the economic hub where what we are planning is to expand economic opportunities by building special economic zones in different zones in Nigeria, which will include the issue of the issues that we highlighted earlier on about the commercial hubs, which will reduce the bureaucracy of going to export it, also having the hubs around. We're also going to talk about the third R, which is the reorientation of our minds to ensure that policies of economic nature.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ACPN. And our businesses in Nigeria complain generally about multiple taxation. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to reduce the burden of multiple taxation for businesses?
Yes, multiple taxation is not good for the growth of businesses. And business owners are usually not happy about it. I'm a businessman too. If you are overburdening me too much, I may be weakened and the business may eventually collapse. We have such a situation in one of the states in this country that industry are packing away to other places due to multiple taxation and tax burdens. What we do is to encourage business people by making sure that we structure the type of taxes in order to that we impose on them, in order to reduce tax burden. And in most cases, to encourage some, especially new businesses that will be coming to the country, to grant tax tariff until the businesses get properly footed. And when you are talking about taxation, you're also talking about economy. We do everything by encouraging the private sector to drive the economy, and we will embrace reform. Because if there's no business, there's nowhere the government will generate. Nobody will pay taxation. If you are not doing anything, you can't pay tax. There's a sort of this that our party, the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, is coming on board in this campaign, which we know the crucial issue that will be on the border is the issue of economy and security. We are bringing on board an international economic advisor in the name of Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. He's an expert in economy, he's an expert, and we believe that the issue of economic problems of this country will be analyzed, and she will take Nigeria far to the path of progress and prosperity.
Thank you very much. Any rebuttals on any issue? Candidate of the APC.
Just a quick rebuttal, and that is that we already have pioneer status. For new businesses, you already have a 5-year tax holiday, some between 3 and 5 years. There's also, just to point out to my fellow candidate, that there is also a tax threshold for small businesses. Beyond that threshold is when you begin to pay taxes. So some of these tax holidays are already in place, and perhaps they may have other ideas, but these are already in place.
Candidate of the ANN?
Yes, I have. He said they are already in place, but they are not implemented. Because I'm a business person, and I know how much tax that is being demanded from our little company. I'm believing that once you are a small business, you need some kind of relief for the next 1 to 5 years to ensure that you are able to garner some profit from what businesses that you're doing. But every time, all businesses are strangulated because of the tax. The local government area will ask for tax. All kinds of regulatory bodies will come and ask for the state government. The state, if you're like we are operating a bakery in Mina, every time they keep telling us you have to pay for this board, you have to pay for that, and different kinds of people. Because of the corruption, it has affected so many businesses that businesses cannot thrive because of all this. Thank you very much. So we need implementation.
Thank you. Well, let me start from here this time, and let me start with the candidate of the PDP. the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Nigeria was instrumental in putting that in place, but Nigeria is yet to sign. Would you say that Nigeria should sign and belong to the Continental Economic Bloc? What advantages do you think Nigeria stands to reap from that?
And so Nigeria needs to look at that agreement properly. Because actually, if you had built your economy as strong as it should be, we would benefit more. We are the biggest market. Yes, you think about people bringing in their goods here, but considering that the resources of, the human resources of this country and the entrepreneurial spirit of the average Nigerian, we would have been able to build facilities, manufacturing facilities that would drive export, not just within Africa. African trade today is less than 9%. And if we get it right, it can go as high as 30% or 40%. The foreign exchange you're saying today you're not earning from oil. Oil line gives you 80% of your foreign exchange, when in effect, if you do the right things, you can have twice that coming from manufacturing. Other countries that don't have anything to do with oil are driving their foreign exchange earning all from manufacturing. So you have to look at the agreement, look at those things we're not doing well here, put them in place, and sign that agreement, because it's going to be a win-win for us. It's just that the manufacturer said, let's look at this. Let's know what is there for us. There's no way you can be part of packaging something and it gets to the stage of signing, you walk out of it. So what were you doing when you were part of packaging, putting it together? It doesn't make sense.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the APC.
Frankly, I thought my colleague of the PDP would say whether to sign or not to sign, But let me just say very quickly that there is a process of consultation which is going on with the private sector. That process is very important because one of the chief fears of the Continental Free Trade Zone, one of the chief fears of it is the possibility of transshipment. Third countries will transship. So, for example, a China can ship its goods to Benin Republic and import to Nigeria under a free trade agreement. So we can have a situation where local industry is killed just by the mere fact that we sign on to this without ensuring that all of the loopholes have been blocked. So we're in the process of ensuring that those loopholes are blocked. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, rejected the Continental Free Trade Zone here, and we're talking to them. Similarly, NASIMA, several of the business bodies, even Industrial and Competitiveness Council, have expressed serious reservations, and we must consult. We are a private sector-driven economy. We cannot just say because we were involved in the process. Every African country was involved in the process. But it's our duty as a responsible government to ensure that we take into account all of the different issues that are involved before we signed. Even trade remedies, even a regime of trade remedies, we have not put in place, the AFCTA has not put in place a sufficient regime of trade remedies. All of these issues have to be taken into account. There's no hurry to rush into signing that agreement. There's no hurry whatsoever. We must make sure that we cover all the bases before we sign. That really is the issue.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ANN.
So if we're going to, we have to look at all the surrounding circumstances of the agreement before signing. We have the policy to be driven by private sector, like you said, but we, in our own way, we're looking at it in a different way, because once you sign an agreement, you are already completely bounded by it. We have to look at how much that agreement will affect the common man in the street. How much employment will that agreement bring? How would it upgrade the development of our industries, which we're looking at diversifying? How would it also affect the GDP that we're looking to expand? So in that agreement, We'll sit down and ensure that there is provision for employment, where issues of employment, because a lot of times we see that the Chinese government are coming in, and they are coming in with all their people, most of their people to come and work, without taking cognizance that we have a lot of people who are unemployed in Nigeria. So what we will do as a party in our government is to ensure that everybody is taken care of, because we also want to collaborate with other parties, other countries. We want to encourage free trade zone. We'll also look at how much that agreement will affect our local industries. If it's going to help us, if it's going to be like an exchange, it's important for us to look at it carefully before signing. And it has to be in alliance, it has to be in tandem with what our general policies stand for in our government.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ACPN.
Well, I thank God that the sitting government has not signed the agreement, because the agreement will not be in the interest of this country. And I say so because presently, so much is not going on in our economy, especially in our industries. And any program or policy that will turn Nigeria into a dumping ground for goods from other countries and cripple the local industries would not be in the interest of us. It is a good thing that as brothers that will trade with each other, but are we going to get equal advantage from them? Now, most of our industries that were most of the industries that were formerly based in this country are relocated to Benin, Togo, and some other neighboring countries. So what will it benefit Nigeria with the highest population and a very big market in Africa? I think the proper thing is for Nigerian government to put the signing of the agreement on hold until the economy of this country improves and our manufacturer industries are thriving.
Thank you very much. Candidate of YPP.
Thank you very much. As where Nigeria is standing today, I don't think it's a wise decision to go sign in such kind of agreement. We have advantage of population. If at all, Nigeria today will try to inject some funds. Let's even start with the state level, where each and every state in Nigeria, let's not even talk about the natural resources. You can see that each and every state in Nigeria have something, one thing or the other that they are producing that's different from what we used to have all over the world. If at all we will inject some amount or some investment into such kind of businesses or such kind of creativity into each and every state, definitely we will get what we want, but that's when the country will be very, very strong in production. That's when such kind of policies will favor Nigeria. But not at this stage we are, where Nigeria doesn't produce much and our export activity is very, very low. Thank you very much.
Yes, candidate of the PDP.
Thank you very much. Like I said before, our government will be demand-driven, not supply-driven. That means you need to consult the people. Be at the stage of planning, not at the stage of signing. You say, oh, well, we need to go and consult the people. We will do it before we get to that stage. Two, you don't need to fear about China's transshipment. That shows inefficiency. Labor is more expensive in China today than it is in Nigeria. In fact, we have 87 million people who don't have jobs. So if goods that are manufactured in China can leave China and you pay the high shipment, including duty clearing, and it's cheaper than what you manufacture, something is wrong here. So you fix it. And look at it, let me just give you an example. Just Apapa, to bring our goods in Apapa, costs more than it costs to bring the goods from Europe to here.
Thank you very much.
That's transport.
Thank you. Yes. Candidate of the APC.
Yes, I think my rebuttal is simple. Question really is that the Continental Free Trade Area has been negotiated for years. The negotiation started even under the previous government. So the question of consultation or not consultation and when it ought to have taken place really could have taken place many years ago when they started these negotiations. Second point, is that labor is not the only factor of production. It's not the only cost. So the mere fact that labor is cheaper in Nigeria than China doesn't mean that goods produced in Nigeria will be cheaper than China. What is going on today, for example, is that if you import rice from China, it will still be cheaper because a lot of their rice is stored up there and is heavily subsidized as well, just as from America. Second point is that we still have issues around power. Power is a major cost. That's one of the reasons why we're investing so heavily in transmission and generation and trying our best to do with distribution. So there are many other costs. It's not just about labor. I mean, if you talk about labor, that's just one single cost. There are so many other costs. So dumping is a major issue.
Thank you very much. Let me stay with you, candidate of the APC. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria is very passionate about 41 items that have been excluded from the forex market. Only recently, another item, fertilizer, was added. Is it a good policy in your view?
Well, let me say first of all that the Central Bank of Nigeria is independent in terms of its own activities, and I really cannot change or not change their policies. But let me say to you that just take some of the examples. Toothpicks, for example, have been imported into Nigeria. Fertilizer, which we have now cracked with the collaboration we have with Morocco, we are now able to deliver fertilizer at half the cost. So you have fertilizer now as you know, some 6,000, 7,000. At some point it was about 12, 13,000, even higher. So you can no longer do that. And rice is also another example. We were importing practically all of our rice. As I said, $5 million of rice every single day. Today, we're no longer doing so. We've encouraged local production by preventing a situation where anybody can simply go and buy rice. And simply go and open a FOMEM and bring in rice. So if you're going to protect local industry, if you're going to protect local activity, then you need to do something like what you may need to do something, such as what the CBN is doing. Final point on that is that where you have a situation such as we have today, these 41 items, it is not a ban on those items. All that the CBN is saying is you can't come to us for foreign exchange. You can go and source your foreign exchange wherever you want, but you can't come to the CBN for foreign exchange for these items where they believe, which they believe can be produced locally. So that really is the point.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ANN. Now, Nigeria is perhaps the only oil producing country in the world today that imports petroleum products. This is because our refineries are not performing optimally. Our refineries are not performing optimally, and so we have to export crude and import refined products. What would you do as Vice President or your government if you get elected? Would you build new refineries or would you privatize the ones that we have now?
Now, like I said the last time, is that we're going to heavily invest in a PPP kind of government, which is a private-public partnership. So we're grateful that at least right now we have one Nigeria that is trying to upgrade, is trying to build refineries. I don't see why, as a country, if the systems are well developed and the processes are strengthened, why we should be bringing in petroleum when we are the ones that have all that. What we should be looking at is building more refineries in the country, expanding on those, and asking the private sector to get involved. Also asking international communities to collaborate with us on how to ensure that the petroleum sector is well strengthened. And also the infrastructure aspect of building the refineries, ensuring that the huge transparency cloud ICT system will be encouraged, so that all the processes and the systems will be transparent enough for everybody to see what's going on, for the common man to know what is going on in the petroleum sector. Right now, a lot of things are not being transparent, and we don't know. But what we want to do differently is to ensure that more refineries are built, more PPP are established, and also to ensure that the diversification, we should not depend at all on petroleum. We should diversify our economy in agriculture, in ensuring that we have more industry, and so on and so forth.
Candidate of the ACPN, some experts have suggested that what is required is a concessioning of some critical infrastructure or sectors of the economy. For instance, the refineries, and even in the aviation sector. What will be the agenda of the ACPN when it comes to power as far as concessioning of critical infrastructure is concerned?
Well, I have said this earlier, that one of the cardinal principles of the ACPN, as contained in our manifesto, is to bring reforms. And the reforms will be in the petroleum sector and other sectors where the government is the major stakeholders. You see, the attitude of Nigerians to public enterprises are nothing to write home about. We have 4 refineries, none of them is working. And they are due to human factors. If we continue to do this thing, people will live for people to continue to be vulnerable. What we do is to hands off the interest of government in all the federal government businesses so that they can be handed over to investors. In that way, if you have your own business, you monitor it jealously to make sure that you are making profit. So you do it to make profit. If it is government business, in Nigeria, government business is not anybody's business. So in the reform that we are going to do in the critical sector of the Nigerian economy, all business interests of the government will be privatized, and we will encourage people, we encourage our people and investors. We are necessary, even with funds and partnership, to make sure that services are provided for our people at minimal cost.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the YPP, what would be the major economic thrust of your party, or if you get elected, as far as the aviation sector is concerned?
Well, we know that those days we used to have Nigerian Airways, which were very one of the largest airlines in the world. And today, African countries like Egypt, Ethiopia, and others have taken that away from us. The major thing a typical Nigerian needs to get to look into is to see how we can rekindle patriotism into our hearts. Because all these things, we have them in abundance. We have the manpower, we have the resources to fix those things. I think recently we had the news that we're all overjoyed that there will be a kind of the bringing back or the awakening of the Nigerian Airways, which we're all joyful about. But as time goes on, we don't know what happened to it. So to be candid, what Nigeria just needs is patriotic leaders that have Nigeria at heart. This is just what I will say about the aviation sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the PDP, let me take you to the ICT sector. It is one of the fastest growing in the world today, and the power of ICT to transform the economy is not in doubt. What will your government do as far as the ICT sector is concerned?
Well, you're talking about investment in education, in STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics education. That is the future. I've said it before that the more you invest in education, the better your economy. So we'll aggressively invest in education. I have done this even as a governor of a state, where I took a state from being number 28 to number 1. Because we know the value of education. I was the first to buy and equip all our schools with ICT. I understand what that is all about. Go to HP, I bought the highest computer ever bought by a government in Africa, 30,000. So I know the value. I know what it is today. Just look at one simple thing. The economy of Nigeria is $420 billion. South Africa is 280, that's 700. Egypt, that is number 3, is 250, 950. When Apple market capitalization is 1 trillion. So you need to invest in that. And it's shown clearly in the world that in 2020, you have 25 million STEM jobs available in the world. We will take ICT serious. We will invest in it. That's why I said you can't continue doing subsidy when you need to invest money in the future. You're driving yesterday. If you continue to do what we're doing, you're kind of investing in yesterday. Those who think about yesterday and today will miss tomorrow. We need to invest in tomorrow. And I will invest in ICT aggressively. That's what our government will do. And I'm sure that's what Atiku will do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any rebuttals on any of the issues?
Well, just to say that with respect to technology, we're not talking about what we will do, we're talking about what we are doing. And what we are doing is that we're investing very heavily in technology. At the moment, we've set up 6 technology hubs in the 6 geopolitical zones. Those technology hubs are being funded mainly by the federal government. Some of them are part funded. STEM education is critical, and we've, as you know, we've done the curriculum, which is not just STEM, it's actually STEAM, it includes arts, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, which is very crucial. And we're looking, and we've also invested heavily, even here in Abuja, in 5 model classrooms for technology. We're looking at what to do for technology training and how to make technology training available for everyone. We set up a technology advisory group, which brings in all technology. Okay.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll be talking a lot more about the economy and business environment in Nigeria. Stay with us. All right, let's turn to the candidate of the Alliance for New Nigeria. The Nigerian economy today is still burdened by the problems of power supply. Okay. Now, specifically, if you are elected to government, how many megawatts of power do you think your government can generate per year?
Right now, we are right now we have the prepaid meter what we are having in government right now is prepaid, and still Nigerians are not feeling the impact of what we have presently. We want to generate, aside from the 4 hydroelectric and gas and all those things that we have, we want to diversify the power sector. We want to upgrade the megawatt to more than the present numbers that we have. We want to ensure that we have maximum demand. We want to ensure that the prepaid meter and maximum demand meters for all government and ministries, department, agencies understand what it means to understand the essence of power in governance. So what we are upgrading the present level of power supply down. We expand, we use innovation to also bring about the new systems of power diversification that we're trying to do, aside from the present one that we have, because we know that the megawatt is not enough for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A candidate of the ACPN, the Ajaokuta Steel Company has got over $10 billion in the last 30 years. Now, what is your plan for this very critical infrastructure?
The issue of Ajaokuta has been there for a very long time. And it has been fraught with corruption, serious corruption. And now a drain pipe to the nation's economy. Ajaokuta could have been one of the major big industries that could have set the stage for the for the progress and development of this country. Just last week, I think I read in one of the papers that the Senate has approved about $1 billion to be injected into Ajaokuta Steel Company, steel rolling company. Despite the several billions that has been sucked into it up to now, the government is not benefiting anything from it. I think what we do, what our government in power will do, is to look into the issue of Ajaokuta steel rolling mill critically, so as to be able to find a lasting solution to it. This is a major economic something for our nation. What we do is to advertise and for people to do a competitive bidding so that we can pick the best company that has the capacity to turn the industry around so that still the steel rolling mill can be brought back to life.
Thank you very much, candidate of the YPP. The steel rolling mills in Nigeria are all, as it were, not working to capacity. And this is also a function of the fact that the Ajaokuta Steel Company has been down for several years after so much has been spent. What do you think is the way forward?
Well, the way forward to fixing the steel industry in Nigeria is, initially I could remember I read about the plan to fix it, but I just don't know so what's happening, why it's not being fixed. But we intend to invest and bring in investors, because I know right now in Nigeria we have a lot of Chinese that are into business, but into that very business, especially in my northern part of the country. But we still need investors, and we still need to partner with local interested people to see how we can be also part of this business and how we can generate funds to go into this sector. And the second thing, I'm very sure I heard somebody talking about why the steel company is not working, it's still power issue. So I think we need to rekindle still patriotism into the hearts of Nigeria to see how we can cripple the generator mafias, because I'm very sure by defeating such, Nigeria will have power supply and most of our industry today will be at work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidate of the PDP. Nigeria's ease of doing business ranking is currently at 146 out of 190 countries, and there's been an improvement in recent times, yet this is not a very good ranking for our country and for our economy. What will you do to improve the ease of doing business if you get elected?
Well, first to look at where your competitors are. If I belong to the BRICS nations, where are they? If I belong to the MINT nations, where are they? If you look at all the rankings, they are just below 100 and you're 146. So it's not good for you to compete. And what are you going to do that? I keep saying that government needs to move out of business and do the right things. There's so many things you can do. Let me take issue of port, for example. Nigerian Ports Authority, for years, looked at the expansion that is coming and everything, and decided not to invest. Instead, we're using money wrongly. Nigerian Ports Authority is the only port in the world that has an office, even guest house, outside its country of operation. They have a guest house in London. And that is the problem. You're not investing money in the business. And the reason why they're not investing money in the business is that the source of their money, the waste that is in government continues to drive their process. So you need to get these things to be more efficient by allowing them to get their money from the capital market. If the money they are using to operate today is from the capital market, they will become more efficient because they have monies, loans they need to pay back. They need new managers, and banks will be after them.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Candidate of the APC.
Can I rebut before I...
Yes.
Can I rebut?
Please go ahead. 1 minute.
I thought the candidate of the PDP will at least acknowledge that while under the PDP, we fell 64 places down on the World Bank Index. Under us, we've moved 24 spaces in 18 months, 24 places up in the ease of doing business. The second thing is, if you say investments haven't taken place in years, who has been in office these last 16 years? Isn't it just incredible? Isn't it just incredible how it is possible to keep a straight face and talk about all that has gone wrong? Why this country is where we are today, and why we're where we are today is because of 16 years of mismanagement of resources. That's the problem. That's why that's why we're here today. That's why. So all these investments ought to have been done. We're investing in infrastructure now with 60% less. We're investing in infrastructure, 60% less. We're doing far more with less. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. Our port is 38. Our port is supposed to be taking 38 million metric tons.
Thank you very much.
It's doing 83 at the moment.
Thank you. Let me say here that this is not an altercation between two parties. You have the opportunities for rebuttal. Let me come to your question, and that is also related to the ease of doing business. And that's about how to attract more foreign direct investments. If you get re-elected, what would you do differently from what you have done in the last 3.5 years? I think to attract more direct foreign investment to the Nigerian economy.
Certainly, what we intend to do is to build on what we're doing. That's why we're talking about the next level. We need to build on what we're doing. At the moment, we moved 24 places up in the ease of doing business. It means, of course, that even internationally, it's been accepted that we're one of the top 10 reforming economies in the world. That's the World Bank report. So what we really need to do is to build on that. And we're doing exactly that. One of the issues with foreign direct investment, of course, is in creating the environment. Power. We need to improve power, which is one of the critical issues for us, which we're doing, improving transmission assets, improving distribution assets. At the moment, we have improved transmission assets by 2,000 megahertz. So where we inherited 5,000 megahertz of delivery on transmission, we are now able to do 7,000 megahertz of delivery on transmission. And we need to keep improving. We need to improve our railroads. Because, for example, if you look at the Lagos-Kano rail, it starts from the ports, from the Apapa ports, so that goods can be taken out of the Apapa ports out into the hinterland. So we need to improve road infrastructure. We need to improve rail infrastructure, which is what we're doing. So the critical investments that need to be made in infrastructure are being made now, because today you have a prudent government. You have a government that is ensuring that grand corruption is not allowed, so that the resources available to us are being invested in the economy. That's how come we can invest 5 times more than when we were earning $100 a barrel or $114 a barrel. So that's the thing. We will simply focus on what we're doing and improve the infrastructure. Once you improve the infrastructure, foreign investments will come. We'll also create the environment for local industry. That's one of the critical issues for us, creating the environment for local industry. And we're creating that environment already for local industry by all of the steps we're taking, entry and exit of ports. We're doing all of that, looking at the taxation regime.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Now, we're on the home stretch now, and we must quickly take a question each on foreign policy. The ANN. Foreign policy. I mean, he said that Nigeria's foreign policy has hardly changed for decades. What do you think is the right foreign policy for Nigeria at this stage of our development and in a changing global environment?
Because of one of the R's that we have in ANN about reforming the foreign policies that we presently have. What we're doing differently is to ensure that every kind of collaboration that has been existing before will change. We want to do foreign policies on healthcare service delivery, foreign policies on education, foreign policies on security. What is being one of the problems that has happened to us, that we have a lot of proliferation of issues on insecurities, because we've not tightened up the knots on our foreign policy matters. We've not done enough to ensure that this aspect of our system is adequately taken care of. Now we have people coming in from the border side, coming in from the small towns like the Chad basins, the Chad area, the Cameroon area, with arms. What has the present government done about this proliferation of arms and this, which is causing a lot of conflicts within our communities, killing our people and all that? What we are going to do differently is to ensure that there's homeland security, which will ensure that all the military security agencies have an information system sharing, which everybody will ensure that everybody coming into our communities, we are well aware of. There will be sharing of information and ensuring that our borders are secured. And having the fact that right now, what I feel is that government is not doing enough to ensure that places we are giving.
Thank you. Candidate of the ACPN, what would be the foreign policy thrust of your government if you get elected?
The foreign policy of the government of the ACPN will be one that will be of mutual benefit to our country and to the countries of the world. This is because the world is a global village. We tend to share advice, we share expertise, we share so many things together. What our government will do is that the relationship we will have with other people, especially in trade, will be the one that our country will benefit from. Then also in security, it has been very difficult for this country to get supplies of the required machinery to combat the Boko Haram menace and other security matters that we have that is staring our country in the face. We will ensure that we build our relationship with countries that are experts in all this machinery, so that they will have confidence that the equipment they will be selling to Nigeria will be used for the purpose for which it was required. Then also we will have relations with our neighboring countries, because we are brothers. Whatever is affecting Nigeria negatively, we obviously affect countries like Cameroon, Niger, Chad, and other West African countries that are bordering the Nigerian territory. So to fight Boko Haram successfully and other insurgents, I think we will require collaboration of all these countries, so that if the fight gets to a stage and the Boko Haram fighters are receding, there will be attack from other countries.
Thank you.
Things that cannot be done alone, we try and see how other countries of the world can collaborate with us.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the YPP.
Thank you very much. Professor Kingsley Magalu has served in the CBN for good 5 years, and his performance there can never be overemphasized. He was part of setting such policies that during his time, there was an economic meltdown that affected a lot of countries in this world. But Nigeria was not directly affected then, due to the good work of his team. So I'm very sure Professor Kingsley Magalu has a very good plan for Nigeria to set a very good foreign policies that will suit our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate of the PDP, what will be the party's foreign policy thrust?
Well,
will Africa still be the centerpiece of Nigeria's foreign policy?
It will remain so, because I believe that we're first Africans and we have a lot to gain and to offer Africa. And while dealing with other nations, making sure that our relationship is beneficial to our country and brings a lot of value in terms of security, in terms of our economic turnaround and everything that will help us to create jobs and help us to see that it will be a win-win situation not a situation where we now go around all over the world borrowing. We would go more to learn about what they're doing, because I believe that what they are doing will be more valuable to us to implement here than a situation where we're almost going to borrow everything from China.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the APC.
Yes.
Now, having drawn the government for 3.5 years, what is it that you think you need to do differently as far as foreign policy is concerned?
I think the major focus of our foreign policy is and will remain the economy and security. So, for example, in trade, on trade issues, we're extremely vigilant. We just set up a trade office, a trade negotiations office, which had never been in existence, so that we're able to enter into fair trade agreements with everyone else. And that accounts for some of the work we're doing on the AFCTA. Also, some of the economic partnership agreements that we're supposed to have signed with Europe, with the European Union. These are the sorts of issues that we're looking at. We're saying, for instance, that we cannot sign those EPAs as they are currently, because we're looking out for the economic interests of Nigeria in our foreign relations. Second, of course, is security. One of the points that's been made is that we will cooperate with our neighbors. Indeed, that is what is going on at the moment. The Multinational Joint Task Force is one such cooperation. So Chad, Cameroon, Niger are partners with us in fighting Boko Haram and other forms of terrorism that may be showing up, especially the Islamic State of West Africa and all of that. So clearly, what our foreign policy will be, and continue to be, is our emphasis on the economy, our emphasis on security. All of our friends, whether they are in the West or whether they are Africans, we will judge their relationship with us on the basis of how beneficial they are to our economy and to our security.
Thank you very much. Now you have an opportunity to make your closing statement. 1 minute each, not more than 1 minute. Your closing statement.
Thank you. Just to implore Nigerians that we are at a critical stage in the life of this country, and that we should open our eyes and vote, and Nigerians should vote for candidates based on the manifesto that they are presenting to them. That Nigerian economy now is vulnerable. It's vulnerable and can collapse anytime. We need an expert, somebody who knows how to turn things around, to fix things, so that Nigeria can be taken back to the path of progress and prosperity. That Nigerians should please vote for the CPN, for a change. We are sure of the reforms that we wanted to bring. We should not be afraid to reform. And that if we vote for a party, Nigeria will be better for all of us.
Thank you very much. Candidate of the ANN.
Fellow Nigerians, the decisions we have to make in 2019 is whether we want more of the last 4 years or a departure from the last 4 years. We all have experienced firsthand the pains of the last 4 years brought upon us by a cabal that runs the government. What Nigeria needs is freedom from this bondage called the cabal. And what we offer in ANN is to ensure that a new Nigeria is birthed, a new Nigeria where you can have opportunities for all to pursue your own happiness, a new Nigeria where we want the ANN is committed to that new Nigeria. And we are happy that with the 4 cardinal principles that we have in reducing the cost of governance, in reforming our civil services and institutions, in restructuring our economic base, in reorienting all these.
Thank you very much.
We are committed to reorienting the minds of our people.
Candidate of the APC.
God bless Nigeria.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Nigeria is where it is today because of 16 years of misrule. The first thing to say is that, will I be allowed? The first thing to say is that poverty in 2004 in Nigeria was 80 million. As of 2014, it went to 112 million in Nigeria. What we set out to do from 2015 was to reduce that poverty and contain it. That's why we set up a social investment program of 500 billion naira, despite the fact that we're earning 60% less. What we've tried to do in the past 4 years is to redress the damage that had been done. We intend, and what we've done in that past 4 years, first of all, is to prevent the leakages, the corruption that brought us to where we were.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Candidate of the PDP.
Let me start first by thanking Nigerians, and secondly, thanking my dear wife for his support, especially in this particular journey. And also to remind Nigerians that Atiku Obi presidency is about making Nigeria work again, because Nigeria is not working today. We are in a situation where 4 years ago, on March 26, 2015, our president said to us, if I fail to deliver, choose your leader. The question is, have they delivered? Today we have a situation where our president told our children that are drowning in the sea, they're on their own. Those children are not on their own. We will care for them. We will look for them. We will ensure that that vulcanizer who needs power gets power.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate of the YPP, please. Candidate of YPP, your closing remarks.
My fellow Nigerians, we have had a very long night.
Please give our audience, please.
You've listened to all of us tonight, and Nigerians are wiser. They are not the Nigerians of yesterday. I'm very sure you will judge who is here sincerely to offer you something new, to give you back your Nigeria. We are here today to call on the 84 million voters, which are mainly young women and men, to come out and vote for their choices. During 2015 election, we were left with no choice. But today, Gilfo Magalu ticket is the option we're giving to Nigerians to come back and retrieve their Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'd like to thank all our candidates who have made it here today. The candidate of the Allied Congress Party of Nigeria, Ganiyu Galadima, thank you so much. Candidate of the Alliance for New Nigeria, ANN, Khadija Abdullahi Iya, thank you so much. Candidate of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Professor Yemi Oshibajo. Candidate of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Peter. And candidate of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, Umar Abdullahi Gesso. Thank you. We will now take the national anthem, and please, after the national anthem, we appeal to the candidates to remain standing behind their desks. The national anthem, please.